Hi, I'm Lynda Braksiek, and I lead the Knowledge Management Research Area for APQC, where we collect data and capture best practices from leading organizations. I'm excited to share a definition of knowledge management, also known as KM, that I think will really resonate with you, along with some examples of what KM looks like in action. I started my career in a more technical, behind the scenes way, like maybe a lot of you. And after a few years, I discovered the power of systemic and holistic KM, where the focus is on solving real business problems from the perspective of people, processes, tools, and technology. And I never looked back. KM is my passion, and I believe in its mission to ultimately help remove pain in people's workday, connect them to resources and people they need to be successful, and of course, improve business results for their organizations. Now, in today's hyper-connected world, information is everywhere. These days, we're surrounded by emails, documents, messages, but knowledge, that's the useful stuff, the things people have learned from experience, the things that are behind the eyes and between the ears in the minds of humans, the stuff that walks out the door when someone retires. KM helps make that kind of knowledge easy to share and access during everyday work. So, how you manage that knowledge can be the difference between surviving and thriving. KM isn't just about storing documents or organizing data anymore. It's something that sets you apart from other organizations and the companies that harness their collective intelligence, make faster decisions, innovate with speed, choose collaboration over silos, and adapt to ongoing change with confidence. Imagine every employee having instant access to their experts, the best ideas, past successes and failures right when they need them. Now, that's just not efficient. That's adding value. And APQC research shows that effectively managing your organization's knowledge can reduce operational costs, shorten onboarding, offboarding, and cycle times, and increase customer satisfaction. Again, directly impacting the bottom line. But it's more than numbers. KM is about people. It's about creating an environment that people feel comfortable sharing what they know, asking questions, and learning from others without any fear of judgment. It's not a tool, it's a mindset, a business strategy grounded in efficiency, resiliency, and agility. It's about building an organization that moves faster than the competition, and it's no longer optional for organizations. It's a strategic imperative. Are you ready to lead this change? Let's get started by talking about knowledge. Knowledge is information in action, and it's a strategic asset. We find that one of the challenges in many organizations is that knowledge is not viewed as a strategic asset, as critical to the operations of the organization. But we need knowledge to execute the processes of our organization. And knowledge can be found all over. Some of the potential sources of critical knowledge include things like competency maps. They represent the skills and the behaviors that are required for a particular position. Or what about standard business processes? Those core processes that enable our organization to perform. Expertise and insights, those subject matter experts in our organizations, or those go-to people who always seem to know the answer or the solution. And what about engineering designs or customer insights or those technical solutions that we create? And what about other things like regulatory and compliance? This knowledge is critical to the operation of many of our organizations, especially today with working in the cloud and with advanced technologies like artificial intelligence. And what about relationships? Relationships as a source of knowledge are often overlooked. You may have a relationship with your peers in the organization or with subject matter experts in the organization or even outside the organization who might work for a university, an industry group. These relationships can be rich sources of knowledge, and new people in the organization may have all the competencies, but they don't know the go-to people. They don't know who to reach out to or who to team up with for a given task. It's also important to identify and define the barriers to knowledge and how it flows through our organization. So let's talk about some of the common barriers. Gaps. This is where the organization doesn't have enough knowledge supply to meet the demand, or the knowledge needs to be documented and it isn't. And what about bottlenecks? This is where we have people or systems that are impeding the flow of knowledge. Bottlenecks occur when there are only one or two people that have knowledge, or maybe the knowledge is stored in closed systems with limited access. And what about the risks in our organization? These are areas where knowledge is undocumented and held by a small group of people, or it's not centrally stored and managed. And that creates risk for the organization because it might lose the knowledge or it might not be accessible when and where someone needs it. And then finally, we have islands. And that's where knowledge is stored in people or systems that aren't connected well. So someone has the knowledge, but others don't know where it is or even how to get it. So that's knowledge. Now let's talk about the definition of knowledge management. And here's the formal definition according to APQC. Knowledge management is a systemic effort to enable information and knowledge to grow, flow, and create value. The discipline of knowledge management is about creating and managing the processes, the approaches, and the enablers to help knowledge to flow and move to the right people at the right time and help them share and act on knowledge in order to, you guessed it, improve organizational performance and the bottom line for your business. So, what does KM look like in action? Well, first, we're going to talk about what kinds of problems knowledge management actually might solve. Think about this. Do you have people looking and wasting time searching for needed information or experts and they don't know where they are? Are we repeating some of the same mistakes over and over again because we haven't transferred what we've learned from one organization or one department to another? Are we losing critical knowledge and capabilities when employees retire, leave, or even transition within the organization? Are we providing inconsistent customer experiences? Are we not sharing what we know about customers to ensure that they're all having a very similar experience with our organization? These are just some of the problems that knowledge management can solve. So then if you look at what KM might look like in action, this is what it is, and this is what it's not. Ultimately, it is about curating and providing access to the most critical knowledge in the organization, not all knowledge. It's about enabling business relevant collaboration, learning, and innovation opportunities, not the non-work related conversations and discussions that we have that can become a distraction. It's about integrating people, processes, and technology together for success. It's not just a technology. And it's a way to empower people, to give them a more complete and equitable access to information and experts across the organization. It's not about removing or eliminating their roles. It is about connecting people to people and people to content so they can perform their roles more effectively and efficiently. So now that you know what KM might look like in action, you might be thinking, but how do I really make this happen? So ultimately, APQC recommends that you have a portfolio of approaches to apply to specific business problems because not every KM approach works for every scenario. This picture illustrates categories of approaches based on the amount of human interaction needed to make it happen. You'll see that on the horizontal axis. And the type of knowledge you are trying to capture or transfer, that's on the vertical axis, where we see the explicit versus the tacit. Now, explicit knowledge are those things that are really easy to write down, document, and then access again, maybe things like standard operating procedures. Tacit knowledge is that information that's behind the eyes and between the ears of those individuals and those experts in the organization, and it is really difficult to capture and get written down in a way that's transferable to others. So the more explicit something is, the less human interaction it takes. And that's where a self-service tool like a social or a search engine or a portal repository with knowledge information in there is very useful. It's a place to find things like what I mentioned, operating procedures, or maybe process documentation. As the knowledge becomes less explicit, so it's not written down already, the approach is a bit more involved. Capturing a lesson learned in a facilitated workshop, maybe following a process, or engaging in a community of practice or a knowledge sharing network to learn from other experts. And finally, what can be the most challenging approach, a facilitated transfer of best practices. This is where true knowledge transfer really happens. And this is things like conducting an interview with an expert who might be retiring, capturing that conversation in a video, and then using that transcript to create documentation to preserve and ensure access for the next generation of workers. All of these things are necessary depending on the circumstance and what business problem you're trying to solve. And they're all important to have as options within your organization. So before we go, I'd like to share a few enduring lessons based on my experience and APQC's research and knowledge management over the years. Focus on what matters. It's about solving real business issues and proving tangible value and the things that help remove the pain in people's workday to make them more efficient and effective. Second, always communicate your role in helping knowledge move through the organization. Are you providing a self-service capability? Are you facilitating an expert interview? Tell people how you can help them. And next, don't reinvent KM best practices. We have so many here at APQC from our member organizations and our research. But you have so many within your organization as well. Find what's working and scale it throughout your organization. Also, people hoard their time and their energy, we've discovered, not their knowledge. Help make it easier for them to have time to share and build it into their everyday work processes. Number 5, break down the barriers for people so they have the time to get involved in KM throughout the workday. People don't know what they know until you ask them. So ask them, engage them. And finally, continuously show value through ongoing measurement. You can't manage what you don't measure. So track both qualitative and quantitative measures and make adjustments as needed. I hope the KM definition, both informal and formal, talking about what KM looks like in action, and sharing some of these enduring lessons was helpful to you. Remember, KM isn't a tool, it's a mindset, a business strategy grounded in efficiency, resiliency, and agility. It's about building an organization that moves faster than the competition, and it's no longer optional for organizations. It's a strategic imperative. Are you ready to lead this change?